Elite assembly. Step up to see flashes the ToyLeet crew. We're the kings of the game, yeah, the chosen few. From the shadows we rise with the rarest finds. Collect them, respect them, we're one of a kind. ToyLeet, we're in the streets. Elite with defeats in this collectible feast. ToyLeet, never discreet. We're the heart of the beat, where our playmates meet. Check our stacks, our collection supreme. Limited editions, every collector's dream. We're the myths, we're the legends, with every drop. Taking over the block, we never stop. In the alleys where the echoes play, ToyLeet's the name, hear what we say. Rising, thriving, always vibing. In our realm we're always driving. ToyLeet, bringing in the street, the live ToyLeet, setting the pace. With the snap of the case and a click of the lock, ToyLeet's on top and we're ready to rock. Collecting more than just toys, we're up. We're up. We're up. ToyLeet, never the street, we're the heart of the beat, where our playmates meet. We're the tree, we're the ToyLeet, watch the throne, cause in this zone, we never admit defeat. Come for the thrill, stay for the chase, ToyLeet's in the place, set in the pace. Let's off with ToyLeet, let's soar to a universe of toys and more. Space-bound Legos like the night. It's a wonderful and action-fixed take flight. Adventure waits where stars align with ToyLeet. Every toy will shine. Toys in space, take flight. In the galactic playground ride. ToyLeet is a wonderful action fix in this space race. And with ToyLeet, where dreams embrace the cosmic race.
So that's the topic. This is our main topic here: toys in space, from action figures to Legos.
Look at that. We're only 45 minutes in and we got to our topic, punk.
I know. That's how you do it, punk.
That's
Get to the point, brother.
Quit rambling.
But hey, who are we to speak?
Oh, I know.
He's the
Mr.
multi-millionaire. Exactly.
Yeah.
Mr. YouTube, a punk with toys.
Mr. 4,000 plus. Man,
Mr. 4K. I can't wait. When he gets to 5K, we're all screwed. It's going to be it's going to be Thanos and the Gauntlet, man.
We're just going to have to go out and like pay people to sub to us and beat him to 5,000.
His isn't that what Punk with Toys' best friend did?
Yeah, but
put somewhere on an island. Somewhere on an island. That's what I heard.
We'll do it covertly, like pay individual people that are real to do it. Like, give them $1 for a sub.
Exactly. Awesome. So, Ed, toys in space.
Toys in space.
We know action figures, Legos. Like, we'll talk as we go through some of the slides here. Space. It's an abstract thing for the majority of people in the world. Nobody, majority of people aren't going to get out there. So it's this opportunity to kind of explore a world of the unknown that we don't get the chance to do, day to day, right? Yeah. So when we talk about toys, it's always that adventure into the unknown and making your own history and stories and whatnot. And space kind of holds like a really strong place in a toy world, especially when you're thinking Star Wars and with the May the 4th be, May the 4th be with you coming up and whatnot. It seems like it makes sense to talk about toys in space because, like, really, toys were always toys, but when Star Wars came out, it like really changed, at least from my perspective and what I remember. Like, and again, that was before I was live, but I always, when I hear the stories and stuff. Yeah. When Star Wars decided to knock off Spaceballs and come out with their own toy line, it like really spun things, So toys in space, Star Wars, and all this other stuff.
Space toys. I mean, like, I think the thing about space and it's its hold on pop culture, whether that's TV, media, movies, stories, action figures. I think the thing with that is that really space is unexplored, right? We only know a little bit about the space other than looking at it through a telescope. It's
Right.
not like a Western, it's not like a military where there's some rooted reality to it, right? We know space exists, but we don't know really what's out there. We couldn't tell you anyway, right? So I think that leaves so much of a, opening for the imagination that space toys are just where it's at. And like you said, once Star Wars hit, space toys, every company was doing space toys after that,
Sorry, I was gonna say something and I just saw that message, and I can picture the shortest guy in the room saying that out loud to everyone. He's not trying to big time anybody yet.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, but you're saying, right? Like, I think you're right? And I think that's what we were alluding to is space, right? It's a creative canvas that even though we
Yeah.
know things about it, there's so much unknown. You could do anything you want out there.
Yep.
So that's what makes the movies and all of the genre across
Yeah.
space, all the way down to the toys, so interesting to so many, and really allows you to have limitless approaches in the IPs. And it could be as simple as action figure NASA, or figures like you have on screen here. And if you want to talk about this one a little bit, Ed, I'll let you do that.
Yeah, so this is Major Matt Mason, who was created by Mattel in like 1969, I think is when he actually hit Toy Fair. He was only around for a couple of years. The bodies, funny enough, were actually just like the Bendies. So they were just a rubber body with wire in them, and they had a plastic sculpted head and a plastic sculpted helmets. And there was, I want to say 4 or 5 actual astronauts, but they came out with some really cool play sets for these guys. A couple of, they had this thing called the Spacewalker, and it was basically just a battery powered thing. They had these big like wheels on it that just, drug along. And they had this huge space station toy, which I think is in the other picture, the next one of the same thing. But yeah, Major Matt Mason was really cool. All the figures had these little like space glider things that they could ride on. They just stood up, and then they had some robots and stuff like that. But you can see in the back, like that's just the vehicles. I think this line was only out for like 2 years, and this is how much stuff they actually came out with.
That's pretty cool to have all of those. Like,
yeah,
I imagine like that would be, for that world building aspect, that'd have been really cool back then. And
yeah, they were probably 4 inches tall, 5 inches tall at the most. I have an uncle that's actually a huge Matt Mason fan, because he was probably 8 or 9 in 1969 when this was really popular. So it's he collects them to this day, but they're hard to come by because like I said, the bodies are rubber. A lot of the times the rubber's picking them up, poking out and everything else. So
probably deteriorated and stuff,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, all of it. The actual toys themselves, like the spaceships and stuff, are fine, but the figures are hard to come by. Mattel actually tried to. They did a re-release, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago, with Major Matt Mason, Big Jim, and one other character, but they did them all in like a 5-inch, basic body. They were all the same figure, painted differently, just as a representation of those old figures.
Gotcha.
Real quick, we got Wraith Mace. Oh, sorry, I was going to bring up Wraith. What's up, Wraith? And then greetings, Mr. Largo.
The shout out from the crick went to Largo. Largo,
Right.
I know you're a few minutes late, but we were shouting you out. We got the man of the hour in here. So I'm sorry I didn't mean to grab that on you, Ed. I wasn't sure if you saw it when you were reading on the screen there. So yeah, thanks.
So yeah, that's Major Matt Mason. That was done by Mattel back in the 60s. A lot of these things, it was right at that time when G.I. Joe was popular, and the original G.I. Joe, and Captain Action, and all those guys were starting to get into that thing. So yeah, really cool line. Like I said, the vehicles and the playsets were amazing for this line.
Yeah, no, those are cool looking. It's definitely something that I imagine a young Mr. Wonderful would have been interested back in the day. Especially with the world building aspect, spaceships, rovers, all that stuff. So for me, the next one kind of touches close to home, and I just pulled this up as a reference to it with Lego Space, right? Because for me, like the first Legos that weren't just me using a couple blocks together, and really the first toys that I played with would have been along the lines of these Legos. And I remember some space Legos from the early 80s. It was that and the Robin Hood like ones that I remember, medieval ones that I remember from when I was a youth. but the Lego ones kind of stand out to me because they had the rovers and all of this space kind of
Yeah.
atmosphere. I remember, being relatively, not having a lot of money, and my parents and being at the laundromat and being bored out of my mind. And I don't even know if this is a thing normally, but they have little Lego packs in like these little machines that you put a couple dollars of coins in, and you get like it must not have been much more than a 15 piece set, but I would get these sets when we do the laundry at the laundromat. And I'd get these space Legos that I can build little rovers. This is like little four-wheelers and stuff back then. But
yeah, little moon cruisers and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That's perfect. Moon cruisers would be the term for it. But yeah, like this makes me think of like my first experience into space toys and stuff. Because again, remember, I knew about Spaceballs. I didn't know Star Wars was a thing until the late 90s. Which, believe it or not, I didn't know that was a toy. I completely missed it. And that's probably because I was watching the Hulk and the Ultimate Warrior and all those guys. It was my focus. So, for me, this was cool because I did, the imaginative play with Legos in space, and, they went on forever. And
when I was a kid, Legos were just blocks. You had rectangles and squares and some flat pieces. And then they came out with wheels, which, totally changed the game, right? But then eventually they came out with like the space sets, and like you said, they had the medieval ones. I think they had some pirate sets or something.
Yep. Oh yeah, pirates, medieval stuff, and the space is what I remember. And my cousin was heavily into the castle medieval stuff as a kid. He had everything, but I remembered having the space stuff, and I had a few of the different ones. And the neighbor behind me in the apartment building, I remember he was a few years older than me. It was his birthday, and he got some massive. Must have been a 2,000 piece Lego set, one of the space ones in the early 90s. I must have been. And I remember playing with those probably right around, 92 when this.
The thing that's baffling now, though, is like when I think about, I didn't really have a lot of Legos as a kid. I had several sets, but not very many, But I remember I had some friends that had, just huge like storage totes full of just Lego, right? And now you go to like the store and one set's $60, $100, $200, right? It's like, holy
all that
shit.
IP.
Yep.
It's because they're not using their own IPs, and they're using IPs that they got from DC.
Yeah, but even
or
like
Marvel,
the Lego City ones are still pretty expensive. They have like the Lego City and the Lego whatever, right? Those are still pretty expensive.
That all goes to what I think they refer to as that. There's a term for it in the industry when it's like comparable pricing, right? Like it's that feel. Okay, it doesn't matter whether it's Marvel or Hasbro does it with the Legends versus like the Joes, right? You're paying the same price point regardless, even though they pay a massive IP charge to Marvel. So you're seeing that logos and everything. So yeah. Dude, when was WrestleMania 3? Was that when I was 3 years old, Punk? I'm sorry you were 40 at that point and growing a beard, and your dad took you on his shoulders there. But,
what year was WrestleMania 3?
It would have been 87 because this was 40.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
Has his own Lego Cityverse. That I'm interested in.
Yeah, I'd like to see that sometime.
I want to see a walkthrough.
We'll have to get Ted to do a walkthrough for us.
For sure.
So 87. So how old were you in 87?
I was 3. Actually, I wouldn't have been 3 yet. I would have been 2.5 when Mania had. Yes, I wasn't shitting myself at the Detroit Stadium or wherever it was to see Andre get body slammed. No, I wasn't able to see that in person.
I was 87. I would have been 14, but so I mean, I definitely wasn't going to fucking Detroit. I can tell you that much.
No. No, not at all. I was lucky I was making it out of the town I was in. So,
yep.
Yeah. Full of excuses for sure.
Absolutely.
But, the next one here, I think you can give a little bit more on it, is the construct.
Yeah. So Fisher Price Constructs. These were kind of like Legos, right? All the pieces went together. So you had these little like straight pieces and angled pieces and all that. And then you had these connectors. And you could build a lot of different things. But after Star Wars, this came out in like 1980, 82, I want to say. So it was after Empire Strikes Back, right around the time Jedi was coming out. And they came out with these Fisher Price Constructs, which are really cool. They had like construction vehicles before this, but then when space, of course, took off, they came out with these. It had glow-in-the-dark pieces. They had like NASA, and then they also made black sets that had little alien pilots and stuff that were really cool. but they all glowed in the dark. So you had like green glow in the dark and you had purple glow in the dark. It was really cool, concept. And of course, they gave you the kit, right? But then you could just build whatever the hell you wanted to with it, right? So I mean,
Okay, that's cool. Yeah. So I'm not as familiar with that. The next one I'm a little bit more familiar with. A little bit more modern, I guess, is what we would say, and that is some Four Horsemen, Cosmic Legions, right?
oh
So
yeah,
we're talking stuff way back in the '60s with the first one, some stuff right in the '80s or so
yep,
with the last two, and even into the '90s, and we're talking stuff that just came out in the last 24 months here
yep,
with some Four Horsemen, and we got a slide we're going to show after this, I think, which
yep,
is what this is originally from. If you want to kind of talk about that.
yeah. So this is basically using the same buck as several of the other Cosmic Legions that have come out. I just
Is it the
totally
Tough or
lost.
the Tur or something like that? I
Yeah,
always forget what it's called.
Thygar is
Yeah.
the one guy who has a similar buck to this, but they made this guy and they named him Pfizer. It's like P Pfizer Rice, right? But the reason they named him this is because this guy's actually, like some of the Cosmic and Mythics have been homages to Motu and stuff like that. This guy's actually an homage to this old Fisher Price Adventure People space alien from the I can't remember the name of the set, but the Turbo Hawk is what it was called.
Okay.
So this guy came in a kit with a little like space glider type of vehicle, little one person spacecraft thing that had wheels on it so you could roll it on your lonely kitchen floor. And this guy's paint job is exactly like the guy that they named Pfizer Rice, which of course, if you look at it, it says Fisher Price, right? So that's why.
I didn't pick up on that. That is awesome. That was like
Yeah.
so over my head.
Yep.
Sorry.
So
That's awesome. I totally didn't pick up on that. You had to really walk me through that one. That's
yeah.
awesome.
So yeah, Largo definitely. So I've already started on making that space vehicle for him out of foam that it comes with.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And he's not for sale yet, right? He's like
He's a pre-order. He's in that.
he's a pre-order.
He's in the retailer wave.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So hold on. Let me bring this up so you can actually see this. We'll just take a second to do this real quick.
Am I going to stop sharing?
Yeah, I got to share something. So let me just share this real quick. Oops. I got to open this up still. See if this lets me do it. It won't let me share my screen. I do not know why.
Do you want to send me the link in the private chat and I'll open it?
I think, yeah, let me send it to you. It's not a link. It's actually a picture I had on my computer. So let me see if I can find it real quick. Go ahead and go to the next slide though.
Yeah. No, it's just, so let me get back to here and share. Okay. So the next one here, you want to talk about this one real quick, Ed? I know it's another one of the space ones that you had loaded on here.
Yep. 1 second.
Yep.
Oh, I can't find it, but I'll find it for you later.
That's fine.
This is one of the Fisher Price Adventure People. This is called the Alpha Probe. So this is actually, I still have mine from as a kid. The only thing I don't have is this little white thing.
The tentacle that hangs.
It's a tether. It's a tether thing, so you can actually like the guys connected to the actual tank. Mine still works. Don't have a functioning 9-volt battery, but you got 3 little buttons back here. It made the lights go off. It made like a rocket sound, and then like just like a space like pulsing sound with the lights. This little cockpit came out, or little probe ship came out, and then you could pop these jet rockets off the back, and you could put them onto this, so you can make like a little bit of a quicker ship. It came with a male astronaut and a female astronaut. It was one of the coolest things as far as the toy goes, because you could actually stand it up, and it would stand like how they. Like when you're launching a rocket. So, this came out from 1980 to 1983. This is when Fisher Price really got into the space thing after Star Wars became really super popular. So,
good deal. Yeah. So this is you're saying this is kind of like right around that same time.
Yep, it's right after Star Wars got popular. This is when this came out.
Gotcha. Speaking of Star Wars, this one I know about. It's that knockoff for Spaceballs. Um, so yeah, with this you have it's still very involved. It's still very current, right? Like Toys in Space, right? I mean, there's entire sections within all of the retail spaces that sell action figures that have Star Wars Black Series, and it's still very relevant today, even beyond what happened 30, 40 years ago now. They're releasing stuff. Mattel or not Mattel, Hasbro still, generates a ton of these, repaints and such across the board. I mean, I think we saw some Christmas ones recently
Yep.
for stormtroopers and stuff. But the Toys in Space, it's a theme that I don't think ever goes away. You also have one going as far back as some of the I think 1/6 scale GI Joes with the Adventure Joes, right?
Yep.
And there was a spaceman there.
Yeah, this was a really cool thing because this cockpit, this thing is huge. I used to have one of these. I ended up selling it when I got divorced, but the inside of it actually glowed. So when you put your figure in there, you could the cockpit inside would glow. And this came like with a little, as you could see, orange strip. This is a cool set. The only bad thing is that this suit actually had foil on it. So over time, of course, from 69 till now, right? They've all kind of deteriorated. So
yeah.
So let me try sharing that screen again real quick.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Let's try this now. So this is what, can you see that?
It's coming up right now. Oh, okay, so the full body of
That's what he came. That's how he looked, right? So
Okay.
that's why that guy is Pfizer Rice or whatever.
Gotcha.
And then he came with this. Actually came with this little space glider thing. So
Okay, so like the thing right behind him.
yeah, the thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So you could sit him in that. There was a couple different versions. One was black with silver highlights, and one was silver or gray with the black highlights. But
That's
yeah,
cool.
so it's green head guy. So yeah, they did. This is
They
actually
did really cool.
Yeah, this is actually what all the male astronauts look like for Fisher Price. They just painted the head differently, gave them a little bit different, suit color. So
paint apps or whatever.
Yeah.
That's cool. I like I like what the Horseman did with that. That's really, obviously I don't have the same tie-in myself.
Yep.
But for those that, happen to be, followers of things like that, from, previous generation or whatever, to then be able to pick up your Cosmic Legions with all that modern, articulation.
It's cool because, like
throwback.
With it's hard to do, like they do a lot of Motu homages, right?
Yep.
With their figures. It's hard to do that with the Mythic Legions for the adventure people, right? So now that they got Cosmic, they can do some of those things, right? Maybe we'll see some kind of Lego space homage, in the future.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good point, right? I mean, I think it's probably a little bit harder with the mythic side just because of the fact that, like you said, it's just a little bit more difficult to get creative in that sense, I think, because they'd be infringing on like those other IPs a lot of times to get it anywhere near, because it would be like Conan or something like that, or Hercules, right? They got to be very careful. But with the space stuff, they can still like spin it so it's drastically different, and then use something paying homage to a legacy figure, which is really cool. So, the Toys in Space stuff, it's seen throughout all of our toys, right? Video games, all of our movies and modern movies, even the toy lines, some of my favorite more recent toy lines that wouldn't necessarily have the word space in it or necessarily make you think cosmic, but like the Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, right? Like if you follow the lore of that, you recognize that it is all space bound, right?
Yeah. So well, even if you take into something that is, has influenced AWOC, even Planet of the Apes starts basically in space, right? Now, granted, they travel back to Earth through a time warp, but I mean, the whole point of it is they're traveling in space, astronauts, and they land on planet Earth millions of years in the future.
Yeah. No, I think it's great, and I thought it was a cool topic with May coming up and being so Star Wars centric, and with a Punk with Toys and Allison, Troy doing their shows together, and then everyone in the community kind of partaking in that Power of the Force review or a Fuel the Schwartz, as I will be doing. So I thought it kind of tied in really good and kind of kick us off tomorrow with all of that. So looking forward to seeing more space themed Power of the Force content.
Let's do the time warp again. Absolutely.
So that said, that kind of covers us on our main topic this week, but it leads us to our topic for next week, which is movie
Roll that,
merch.
roll that beautiful bean footage.
So how films, TV influence toys, right? So we kind of talked about space, and it kind of parlays into some of the stuff we'll be talking next week. Star Wars
Yeah.
having all of their merchandise and all of that. So I think we'll
Star
have
Wars
some
actually,
conversations.
really kicked off the whole movie merchandise tie-in thing. I
Yeah,
mean,
for
there
sure.
was, Mego in the 70s and Captain Action that had some superhero tie-ins, but that was really directed towards mostly the comic books. When
Yeah.
Lucas took over and launched Star Wars, I mean, he created a whole merchandise thing. That's why in your, what they ripped Star Wars off of, that's why Yogurt has his shop, because, he was making fun of Lucas trying to steal from him.
Exactly. That's what that was about.
Yeah.
It was those guys at the street, trying to sell tickets to the concert later that night because it was just, hustling and whatnot.
Mhm.
But yeah, so it'll be interesting to talk about how films and TV influence toys and vice versa, really, right? Because thinking back to all of the rules and regulations on how much Saturday morning cartoons had to be in G.I. Joe, like I always hear about it,
Right. Oh yeah.
it had to be, very specific in how they produced and publicized their commercials for toys,
Yeah.
because it couldn't just be a 30-minute
Commercial.
constant flush of toys commercials to the kids. So movies and TVs, they influence
G.I.
toys,
Joe
right?
definitely took the whole commercialization part that Lucas started and really brought it to shoved it down all of our kids' throats in the late 70s and 80s. So
I was fine with it. I love toys, so
Oh,
I
hell
mean
yeah.
that's why I'm sitting here today. If it wasn't for all of that
Yep.
crap, I wouldn't be doing this. And
Now, but remember this. Let your toys breathe, do this. Toys on the desk, it's the new habitat. ToyLeet takeover, we're loving that. It's a stack high in the air where it's at. Everywhere's a playground for Mr. Wonderful. In the office, living room, let them breathe. Action fix hit the trail through the mud and undersell. It's the ToyLeet life. Beyond the shelf we prevail. Figures and cents in perfect place. With hexa stack, we own the space. From battle seeds to epic quests, our collection's always at its best. Hexa stack high in the air where it's at. Everywhere's a playground for Mr. Wonderful. In the office, living room, let them breathe. Action fix it, the trail through the mud and undersell. It's a ToyLeet life. Beyond the shelf we prevail. So like, subscribe, and join our crew. Check us on Instagram, we've got news for you. Back the stack, it's where dreams come true. ToyLeet takeover, we're here for you. Thanks for tuning in, feel the vibe. Toys in our world come alive. Next week, same time, don't miss the ride. Where ToyLeet take over, the fun's wide.